live in a universe that is vast, ancient, and overwhelmingly hostile to life. Stars explode. Galaxies collide. Space is freezing, empty, and indifferent. The odds of life forming at all, let alone consciousness capable of reflecting on its own existence, seem impossibly small. And yet, here we are. Thinking, wondering, questioning, dreaming. For most of human history, this mystery was explained through spirituality. Ancient people looked at the stars and saw purpose. They sensed intention in the movement of the heavens, intelligence in nature, and meaning in the unfolding of their lives. Spirituality was our first language for understanding reality. Then came science. Careful observation evolved into equations. Intuition evolved into experiments. We discovered atoms, galaxies, evolution, electromagnetism, and quantum fields. We learned to predict and measure the world with extraordinary precision. But as our knowledge grew, a strange thing happened. The universe became emptier, colder, more mechanical. Meaning, purpose, spirit, and intention faded from the picture. Yet despite this, the questions never went away. Why are we here? Why does the universe exist at all? Is consciousness an accident or a clue? Is everything truly random, or is there a deeper order beneath the surface? My own search began in catastrophe, was deepened by loss, and unfolded through 2 decades of studying physics, cosmology, consciousness, and ancient wisdom. I discovered that the line between science and spirituality is thinner than we think. In fact, the more we learn, the more the universe begins to look like something alive, something intelligent, interconnected, and purposeful. Cosmic structures resemble neurons. Quantum systems exhibit memory, choice, and non-local connection. Information, not matter, appears to be the foundational layer of reality. Light, once thought to be simple, is now understood as the universal communicator, the carrier of energy, information, and meaning. At the same time, spiritual teachings across cultures point toward the same insight. Everything is connected. Everything communicates. Everything unfolds in patterns too meaningful to dismiss. It is not about accepting blind belief or rejecting scientific rigor. Instead, it is about exploring a third path. A universe where intelligence is woven into the fabric of reality. A universe where consciousness is not an accident, but an expression. A universe where events are not random, but interlinked through fields of information and light. When I began my journey, I believed that everything happens for a reason, because I needed comfort, guidance, and meaning. Today, I believe it because the evidence, scientific, philosophical, and experiential, points toward a reality that is far more connected and intelligent than we were ever taught. From the ancient roots of human understanding, to the birth of the cosmos, to the mysteries of consciousness, to the hidden patterns guiding our lives. By the end, I hope you will see what I ultimately discovered. Not only does everything happen for a reason, but reason itself is built into the universe. Light, information, intelligence, consciousness. All are different expressions of the same divine reality. Long before humanity built observatories, particle accelerators, or space telescopes, our ancestors looked up at the night sky with questions that still define us today. What is this universe? Where did it come from? What forces shape our lives? Why are we here? They had none of the scientific tools we now take for granted. No mathematics, no physics, no written language for most of our early existence. And yet, they were not ignorant. They were observers, obsessed, patient, unrelenting observers. They learned the sky by heart. They knew the seasons by the movements of stars. They predicted eclipses, tides, migrations, and weather patterns with astonishing accuracy. To us, the ancient world appears mystical. But to them, mysticism was simply the early form of science. Mysticism as proto-science. When a culture lacks technology, imagination becomes its telescope. Myth, ritual, and symbolism were not arbitrary stories. They were frameworks for understanding natural forces too vast or subtle to describe in simple terms. Wind became spirit. The sun became the giver of life. The cycles of the moon mapped the rhythms of fertility. Fire became wisdom, transformation, and illumination. Each of these ideas contains a scientific truth encoded in metaphor. Spirituality did not emerge from ignorance, it emerged from curiosity. It was humanity's first attempt to explain why the world is ordered, why patterns appear everywhere in nature, and why consciousness feels connected to something larger. Ancient civilizations intuitively sensed a unity underlying existence. Today, physics calls it the field, the vacuum state, or the quantum fabric. But thousands of years earlier, spiritual traditions spoke of it as oneness, source, the Tao, Brahman, or the Great Spirit. In different languages and symbols, they were all trying to articulate the same insight. Reality behaves like an interconnected whole. The universe as presence. To early humans, the universe did not feel like a mechanical machine. It felt alive. Every force, wind, fire, water, storms, seasons had personality. The world was not passive matter, it was infused with intention. Events unfolded with meaning. It's easy to dismiss this as superstition, but look a little deeper. The first time a person watches a solar eclipse, it is nearly impossible not to feel that something profound is happening. When a meteor streaks across the sky or lightning splits a tree, the emotional impact is enormous. Without the lens of modern science, these moments naturally feel like messages. Ancient people did not separate emotion from reality the way we do now. Life was experienced as a dialogue with a conscious universe. In many ways, they were not wrong. When spirituality became the foundation of science. As societies matured, spirituality evolved into ritual, and ritual evolved into observation. Priests became astronomers. Healers became physicians. Mystics became philosophers. The same people who interpreted dreams also studied planetary motions, geometry, and herbal medicine. The line between spiritual insight and scientific discovery was not opposing, it was the same journey expressed in different forms. For example, Egyptian priests aligned pyramids with star systems, using precise astronomical knowledge. Babylonian star watchers predicted lunar and solar cycles, centuries before formal mathematics. Mayan astronomers tracked Venus with accuracy modern instruments only confirmed thousands of years later. Greek philosophers sought a rational order in nature and birthed the foundations of physics, logic, and cosmology. They did not see a contradiction between spiritual meaning and empirical reality. To them, the universe was intelligent, and learning its laws was learning its language. Patterns, the bridge between spirit and science. Every scientific revolution began with someone noticing a pattern. The sun rises predictably. Seasons repeat. Geometry emerges from nature. Life evolves toward complexity. Consciousness follows detectable rhythms. Patterns imply order. Order implies structure. And structure implies intention, or at least a governing principle that behaves like intention. This is where spirituality first touched the edges of science. The recognition that events are not random but interconnected. The modern world often forgets this. We have separated observation science from meaning spirituality, as if the two cannot coexist. But to the earliest humans, separating them would have made no sense. The universe was both physical and meaningful, simultaneously. A sunrise was an astronomical event, and a spiritual message about renewal. A storm was a weather system, and a reminder of nature's power. A dream was a neurological process, and a symbolic communication from the inner self. Only recently have we begun to realize how valid this integrated perspective might be. The return of ancient insight. Today, cutting-edge scientific fields, quantum physics, cosmology, information theory, and consciousness studies are circling back to ideas that ancient mystics perceived intuitively. The universe is interconnected. Consciousness is fundamental, not accidental. Information is more primary than matter. Light carries meaning, not just energy. Reality behaves like a unified system with emergent intelligence. In the end, the first scientists were not primitive. They were early explorers of the same truth modern science is now rediscovering. The universe is more than matter. It is presence. It is pattern. It is purpose. And it speaks to those who pay attention. Before stars, before planets, before atoms, there was only darkness. Not darkness as absence, but darkness as pure potential. A vast silent backdrop, waiting for something to awaken it. And then, in a moment beyond time, light appeared. The story of reality begins with a duality so ancient and universal that nearly every culture recognized it. Light and darkness, creation and void, energy and stillness, the seen and the unseen. This polarity sits at the heart of both spirituality and science, and understanding it is key to understanding the nature of the universe and our place within it. Darkness, the womb of creation. In ancient symbolism, darkness was never simply bad. It was the fertile ground from which everything arises. The womb before birth. The soil before sprouting. The night before dawn. The unknown before discovery. Mystics spoke of darkness as the unmanifest, the realm of infinite possibility. Modern physics calls it something different, the vacuum state, zero-point energy, or the quantum field. Far from being empty, this darkness seethes with fluctuations, tiny bursts of energy that appear and vanish. It is a creative silence. And in that silence, the first light emerged. Light, the great revealer. Light is more than illumination. It is the most fundamental messenger in the cosmos. Everything we know about reality, from the spin of electrons to the structure of galaxies, arrives through light. Light carries energy, the ability to change things. Information, the structure of reality. Time, the record of the past. Order, the rules by which the universe evolves. When we look at a star, we are not just seeing brightness. We are seeing history itself. Millions of years carried across unimaginable distances, delivered as photons. Light is literally the memory of the universe. This is why ancient people worshipped the sun and stars. They didn't understand the physics, but they sensed that light was life, warmth, growth, clarity, rhythm. Every dawn was a message, the universe wants to be known. The dance between light and darkness. Science and spirituality converge powerfully here. In spirituality, light represents knowledge, consciousness, truth, divine presence. Darkness represents mystery, potential, the hidden, the yet to be born. In physics, light is electromagnetic radiation, energy that moves through space-time. Darkness is the unseen structure of the vacuum, fields, matter, and energy we cannot directly observe. Both views describe a relationship, a dynamic tension. Light gives form. Darkness gives possibility. Creation requires both. Light as the code of reality. A surprising fact, light is not simply a wave or a particle. It behaves like pure information. Every photon contains a tiny piece of a coded message about its source, its temperature, motion, distance, composition, and even the gravitational fields it passed through. In other words, light carries the universe's autobiography. This aligns with thousands of years of spiritual teachings that viewed light as wisdom, truth, and divine communication. When mystics said light reveals, they were not wrong. When science says light measures, it means the same thing in a different language. Light is how reality makes itself legible. Darkness as the hidden order. Modern cosmology shows that 95% of the universe is dark, either dark matter or dark energy. We cannot see it, but we know it shapes galaxies' orbits and the expansion of the cosmos itself. If light is what reveals, darkness is what structures. It is the scaffolding behind the scenes. Spirituality has always said the same. The invisible shapes the visible. The inner shapes the outer. The unmanifest shapes the manifest. It is only now that science is catching up. Why light symbolizes intelligence. There is a reason nearly every spiritual tradition associates enlightenment with light. It is the universal symbol of awareness. But beyond symbolism, Light has properties that make it uniquely suited to intelligence. It moves at the cosmic speed limit. It encodes information flawlessly. It does not age or decay in the vacuum. It links distant events through entanglement. It carries order across space and time. If the universe is a mind or behaves like one, then light is its thought process. It is the medium of connection, memory, and meaning. Everything happens for a reason because everything communicates through the same universal language, light. The first duality, the first lesson. The interplay of light and darkness is not merely a backdrop to the universe's story. It is the first principle, the original polarity from which everything else emerges. Without darkness, there is nowhere for light to shine. Without light, there is no form, no knowledge, no evolution. They are not enemies. They are partners. Two sides of one living reality. Modern physics, ancient mysticism, and personal experience all point to the same profound truth. The universe is designed to reveal itself. It wants to be known. It evolves through a balance of the seen and the unseen. When we understand this duality, light as intelligence, darkness as potential, we begin to grasp the deeper order beneath reality. And we begin to understand why our own consciousness, like the universe, is always reaching toward the light. Chapter 3: The Birth of Meaning, Why Humans Sense Purpose. Meaning is not a luxury of the human mind. It is a survival instinct, a cognitive compass, and perhaps even a universal inheritance. From the moment humans first walked the earth, we have been pattern-seeking, symbol-making, story-building beings. We don't just observe the world, we interpret it. But why? Why do we instinctively feel that events are connected? Why do we search for purpose in tragedy, coincidence, and change? Why do humans across every culture conclude that life unfolds with intention? The answer lies deep in our biology, our psychology, and perhaps in the very structure of the universe. The human brain, a meaning machine. Our brains are built to detect patterns. They do this so automatically that we often notice patterns even when they aren't there. This wasn't a flaw. It was an evolutionary advantage. Imagine two early humans walking through tall grass. One hears a rustle and assumes it's the wind. The other hears a rustle and assumes it's a predator. Even if the cautious one was wrong most of the time, they were more likely to survive. This instinct to assign meaning, cause, and intention became hardwired into us. From these origins, three powerful cognitive traits emerged. 1. Pattern recognition. We look for structure in chaos. 2. Agency detection. We assume forces or intentions exist behind events. 3. Story construction. We create narratives to make sense of experience. These traits build confidence, reduce uncertainty, and help us navigate the unknown. But over time, they also became the foundation for spirituality, symbolism, science, and philosophy. Meaning was our first technology. Long before tools or language fully developed, meaning helped humans survive. By interpreting the world as purposeful, our ancestors learned to adapt. They built stories that explained the seasons, the stars, birth, death, storms, and sickness. These early interpretations gave rise to rituals that structured community life, moral codes that shaped behavior, myths that preserved knowledge, symbols that captured universal experiences, spiritual systems that connected individuals to a greater whole. Meaning became a technology for survival, and later a framework for wisdom. The emotional weight of meaning. Modern psychology shows that humans suffer more from meaninglessness than from pain. When events feel random, life becomes chaotic, disorienting, and frightening. But when events feel meaningful, suffering becomes transformation. Coincidence becomes guidance. Loss becomes initiation. Uncertainty becomes opportunity. Meaning stabilizes the mind. It gives shape to experience. It connects the past to the future. It allows us to endure what would otherwise break us. This explains why, throughout the world, people instinctively say, "Everything happens for a reason." It's not naive, it's deeply human. Meaning is a message from the universe. Meaning is not something we invent, it is something we discover. When we feel that a moment is significant, that a choice is aligned, or that a loss carries a deeper lesson, we are responding to signals, patterns, emerging from reality itself. Just as light carries information across the cosmos, meaning carries information across consciousness. Meaning is the inner equivalent of light. In the same way that photons reveal the physical world, meaning reveals the inner world. It is how the universe whispers to us, how intuition surfaces truth, how synchronicities connect one moment to another. The sensation of meaning is not random. It is an interface. The brain as receiver, not just generator. Traditional science teaches that meaning is created entirely inside the brain, a psychological hallucination with no objective counterpart. But new theories challenge this assumption. Integrated Information Theory, IIT, suggests consciousness is a structural property of the universe. Panpsychism argues that all matter has some form of awareness or proto-consciousness. Quantum information theory shows non-local connections between events across distance and time. Holographic models of reality imply that information is stored everywhere in space-time. In these frameworks, the brain does not generate meaning, it detects it. Meaning may be a fundamental feature of reality, not a human invention. Purpose as a perception. We see purpose because the universe behaves in ways that mimic intention. Matter self-organizes. Life evolves toward complexity. Consciousness seeks understanding. Galaxies form webs resembling neural networks. Quantum systems communicate instantaneously. The universe behaves less like a machine and more like a growing, learning organism. Humans sense purpose because we are part of that organism. Our intuition about meaning is a reflection of the universe organizing itself through us. A universal truth hidden in a human instinct. The reason humans sense purpose so strongly is simple. We experience meaning because meaning exists. We feel connected because we are connected. We feel guided because reality unfolds in patterns. We feel watched over because consciousness permeates existence. We feel that events happen for a reason because the universe is not random, it is relational. The story of the universe does not begin with matter. It does not begin with atoms, stars, or galaxies. It begins with information, with differences, fluctuations, and relationships woven into the very fabric of space-time. Before there was structure, there were patterns. Before there was form, there was connection. Before there was life, there was the logic that would eventually make life possible. This chapter explores a universe that begins not as a violent accident, but as a self-organizing, self-patterning field of information. A universe that grows like a mind developing its first neural pathways. A universe that evolves toward awareness, because awareness is the natural outcome of increasing relational complexity. The universe's first act was not to create matter. Its first act was to encode. The first moment, a field of pure potential. The early universe is often described as chaotic, but chaos is the wrong word. It was dense, hot, compressed, but deeply structured. Within that initial fireball, quantum fields vibrated. Information rippled. Tiny differences emerged. Patterns formed and dissolved. Probabilities intertwined. These differences were the universe's earliest decisions, not decisions made consciously, but mathematically and thermodynamically. The universe was performing its first computations, exploring trillions of possible configurations, settling into stable patterns the way a brain settles into its earliest synaptic connections. Reality began as a relational field, a network of interactions that determined what the cosmos could become long before it became anything at all. Symmetry breaking, the universe's first choices. In the earliest microseconds, the universe existed in a perfect symmetry, beautiful, uniform, and utterly sterile. Perfect symmetry is not fertile. It produces nothing. Life, consciousness, and complexity require imbalance, contrast, and asymmetry. So the universe fractured its own symmetry. Not randomly, but through cascading transitions where fields differentiated and roles emerged. Gravity peeled away. Electromagnetism separated. The nuclear forces split. Particles gained mass. Energy condensed into structure. These breakings are often described as physical events, but they were also informational events, the creation of new rules, new relationships, new pathways. Each symmetry breaking was a choice that allowed complexity to unfold. Each choice added new layers to the universe's internal logic. The cosmos was not falling apart. It was differentiating, the way a single cell divides into specialized forms that allow a body to develop. The first network, how structure emerged. As the universe expanded and cooled, something extraordinary happened. Information began to crystallize. Quantum fluctuations, tiny ripples in spacetime, stretched across vast distances. They became density variations. These variations guided the flow of matter. They became the scaffolding of the cosmic web. This is the moment the universe became a network. Nodes formed where matter pooled. Filaments connected these nodes. Voids opened between them. Gravitational signals passed through the structure. Light carried information across its growing body. If the universe were a brain, this was the moment neurons first spread and signaled to each other. If the universe were a computation, this was the moment memory began to form. The universe was not random. It was organizing itself. Information becomes matter. Matter is usually presented as the fundamental ingredient of reality. But matter is not primary, it is frozen information. Light transformed into particles. Particles bonded into atoms. Atoms stored charges, spins, symmetries, and coupling constants, all forms of informational memory. Matter behaves like data. It stores information in its structure. It interacts according to rules. It builds more complex forms. It sustains patterns over time. Matter is what information becomes when it slows down enough to take shape. The universe didn't move from nothing to something. It moved from possibility to memory. A universe driven by pattern, not chance. Traditional cosmology sometimes frames the early universe as lucky. The right constants, the right forces, the right conditions. But luck cannot explain the mathematical precision of physical laws, the stability of particles, the emergence of large-scale structure, the transition from simplicity to complexity, the inevitability of biological evolution. A deeper principle must be at work. The universe behaves like an information processing system that naturally evolves toward complexity, structure, and awareness. This does not mean consciousness was present at the beginning, but the ingredients for consciousness were present, and they behaved in a way that made consciousness possible, even likely. The universe as a proto-conscious system. The early cosmos did not think. It did not feel. But it already possessed the essential characteristics of a system capable of giving rise to thought and feeling. Information storage. Information flow. Network growth. Pattern amplification. Recursive feedback. This is exactly how early neural tissue behaves. Not conscious yet, but capable of developing consciousness. When seen this way, the universe did not simply give birth to consciousness billions of years later. It spent billions of years becoming conscious, gradually building the complexity needed for awareness to emerge in stars, planets, ecosystems, and eventually minds. The seed of meaning. If the universe began with information rather than matter, if the universe naturally forms networks, if increasing complexity leads toward awareness, then meaning is not imposed on the universe. Meaning is a natural outgrowth of how the universe behaves. Life does not fight against the laws of physics, it expresses them. Consciousness does not violate nature, it fulfills it. The story of the universe is not a story of chaos, accidentally producing order. It is a story of order unfolding layer by layer, building toward connection, experience, and awareness. As the universe expanded and cooled, it did more than assemble particles and forces. It began to compute. Not in the way a laptop computes, following programs created by someone else, but in the deeper sense. The universe became a system that transforms information, builds structure, tests possibilities, and refines complexity through feedback. Computation is not something the universe contains. It is something the universe is. The universe runs on rules, not randomness. Everything that happens in the universe follows rules. Rules define how particles interact, how fields fluctuate, how forces guide matter, and how energy moves. Rules are algorithms. Algorithms produce predictable outcomes. Predictable outcomes allow systems to build on themselves. This simple fact is profound. The universe is algorithmic. Gravity, electromagnetism, quantum mechanics, relativity. These are all expressions of a deeper logic embedded into the fabric of reality. If the universe were chaotic, nothing would form. If it were static, nothing would evolve. But because it is rule-based, it can process, transform, and learn. The first calculations, how matter chose structure. When the earliest particles formed, they followed rules that determined how they could combine. Hydrogen was stable. Helium formed under specific conditions. Heavier elements required stars. Molecules obeyed bond angles. Chemistry unfolded through predictable pathways. These constraints are not obstacles, they are the universe's first computational filters. Every allowed combination is a yes. Every forbidden combination is a no. This makes the universe a kind of cosmic decision-making engine. Given enough time and enough interactions, complexity becomes unavoidable. The universe doesn't create anything at random. It explores possibilities through rule-guided computation. Feedback loops, the engine of complexity. The universe grows complexity through feedback. 1. Structures form. 2. Structures influence new structures. 3. Those new structures feed back into the system. 4. The whole network becomes more complex. Stars are perfect examples. They begin as clouds of gas. Gravity compresses them. Fusion ignites. Fusion creates heavier elements. Those elements seed planets. Planets create ecosystems. Ecosystems create minds. Minds begin to reflect on the universe. This is not linear. It is recursive, an upward spiral where each layer amplifies and enriches the next. This behavior is identical to learning in biological neural networks. The universe builds memory. Computation is useless without memory. The universe develops memory in several ways. Particles retain identity. Quantum fields preserve information patterns. Atoms store stable configurations. Stars archive nuclear histories. DNA encodes biological knowledge. Brains store experience. Culture stores collective intelligence. Memory expands as the universe evolves. Matter becomes a record of the universe's past states. Life becomes a record of evolutionary successes. Consciousness becomes a record of lived experience. The universe remembers, not consciously at first, but functionally. Memory is a natural consequence of computation. The rise of distributed intelligence. As the cosmic network grew more complex, something remarkable happened. Distributed intelligence emerged. This intelligence is not a single mind, but a system-wide phenomenon that arises whenever many interconnected components process information collectively. Distributed intelligence describes ant colonies, ecosystems, weather patterns, the internet, human societies, and ultimately the brain. The early universe behaved like this long before life existed. Galaxies, stars and planetary systems form not through command, but through collective computation. It is no exaggeration to say that the universe has been thinking in a distributed, proto-intelligent way since its earliest days. Computation as the bridge to consciousness. Many people treat consciousness as something separate from physics, a miracle, an anomaly or a glitch. But seen through the lens of cosmic computation, consciousness becomes a natural continuation. If the universe processes information, if networks form naturally, if complexity increases over time, if memory accumulates, if feedback loops amplify intelligence, then consciousness is the logical outcome of this progression. Consciousness is not an accident. It is what happens when a computational universe becomes self-reflective. When enough information loops back on itself, awareness emerges. This is the universe learning how to perceive, learning how to feel, learning how to understand. The universe learns through us. We often imagine that the universe is indifferent to our existence. But if the universe evolves toward complexity, structure, intelligence and awareness, then our presence is not incidental, it is essential. We are the most complex processes the universe has created so far. Through us, the universe observes itself. The universe questions itself. The universe imagines new possibilities. The universe becomes aware of its own laws. The universe contemplates meaning, purpose and destiny. We are the latest expression of cosmic computation, nodes in a network billions of years old. The universe is not learning something separate from itself. The universe is learning itself. And this realization sets the stage for the next chapter, where we explore how information, matter and life merge to form the first sparks of consciousness in the cosmic story. By the time the universe was a few billion years old, its great architectures, galaxies, stars and planets were already in place. The cosmic network had matured. Its structure was hierarchical, multi-layered and threaded with energy flows that resembled the metabolism of a vast organism. But something unprecedented was about to happen. Matter would begin to organize itself in ways that preserved, copied, refined and innovated information. This was the birth of life, not as a chemical accident, but as a continuation of the universe's long tradition of computation and pattern building. Life is the universe tuning itself to higher fidelity. Life is matter learning how to learn. From chemistry to proto-code. On young planets, especially ones rich in liquid water, molecules collided endlessly. But collisions alone do not create life. The crucial step is the formation of self-sustaining, information-storing structures. Life begins when molecules start acting like code. Storing information. Copying information. Improving information. Protecting information. This is not fundamentally different from what atoms and crystals already do. Those structures also store and propagate patterns. But biological molecules introduced error correction, adaptation and selective improvement. They became active participants in the cosmic computation, not passive structures. Life is information that wants to persist. The first evolutionary algorithms. Once primitive molecules began copying themselves, evolution activated automatically. It didn't need direction. It didn't need intention. It simply emerged from the rules. 1. Copies contain variations. 2. Some variations persist better. 3. Successful variations spread. 4. The system becomes more sophisticated. This is the same principle that fuels all learning algorithms. Retain what works, discard what doesn't. Life is the universe inventing a higher level algorithm, one that can explore vastly more configurations of matter, vastly faster than stars or gravity could ever achieve. With life, the universe found a new way to compute. a more flexible way, a more creative way. Metabolism, energy with purpose. Metabolism is the next great leap. It is the moment life stops drifting on environmental forces and begins harvesting energy deliberately. To metabolize is to declare, I will take control of my information flow. Long before brains evolved, metabolism was the first hint of proto-intelligence. It senses energy gradients. It makes choices. It regulates internal states. It constructs defenses and boundaries. It adapts to challenges. Metabolism is computation fueled by energy. A cell is an information processor, powered by chemistry. Life became the most efficient method the universe had discovered to capture, transform, and amplify information. Cellular networks, the first conscious structures. Cells communicate. They coordinate. They share information across membranes, across colonies, across ecosystems. This communication is not conscious in the human sense, but it is undeniably awareness-like. Sensing chemicals. Detecting threats. Tracking environmental change. Adjusting behavior. This is proto-consciousness. The ability of matter to respond meaningfully to information. Every living cell is a tiny locus of universal awareness, a microprocessor arising from billions of years of cosmic pattern evolution. Life didn't invent consciousness. Life refined it. Evolution invents better information carriers. As life continued evolving, new architectures for storing and transmitting information emerged. DNA, long-term memory. A stable, high-density, error-resistant record. Proteins, functional execution. The machinery that implements stored instructions. Cell clusters, shared computation. Multiple processes working cooperatively. Nervous systems, rapid iteration. Fast, adaptable, dynamic data flows. Each upgrade allowed life to handle more complexity, more adaptation, more speed. Each upgrade allowed the universe to think more effectively. The universe wasn't just generating complexity. It was generating learning systems with agency. The Great Acceleration, brains emerge. Once neurons evolved, a new form of information architecture appeared, the adaptive network. Neurons store memories, learn from feedback, strengthen or weaken connections, generate predictions, model futures, create internal realities. This leap is comparable to the transition from simple molecules to replicating ones. It is the move from chemistry to computation, and then from computation to meaning. A brain is the first structure in the universe that can simulate possibilities, imagine alternative futures, choose among them, coordinate complex behavior. A brain is the universe folding information back on itself to create understanding. Consciousness as a deepening of cosmic awareness. Consciousness is not a sudden appearance. It is not binary. It is not an anomaly. It is the continuation of a long progression. 1. Information forms. 2. Information stabilizes. 3. Information copies. 4. Information adapts. 5. Information models. 6. Information becomes aware of itself. If the universe begins as information, then consciousness is simply information becoming self-reflective. Not magic. Not mystery. Inevitable. Consciousness is the natural flowering of a universe whose very fabric is computation and pattern evolution. We are not separate from the cosmic mind. We are its latest expression. Life as the universe's shortcut to intelligence. Without life, it would take trillions of years for the universe to generate structures as complex as a brain through ordinary physics. Life accelerates the process by using evolution, nature's most powerful search algorithm. Life is the universe saying, I want to learn faster. Evolution is the method. Intelligence is the outcome. Consciousness is the realization. Life transforms the universe from a passive arena into an active learner. It gives the cosmos the ability to consider itself. Chapter 7: The Rise of Symbolic Minds. For billions of years, the universe evolved its information networks through stars, planets, cells, neurons, and ecosystems. Each level brought new capabilities: memory, adaptation, prediction. But with the emergence of humans, something radically different happened. The universe invented a creature that could rearrange information on purpose. Not just react, not just adapt, but choose, imagine, plan, abstract, and symbolize. Human consciousness is not simply a biological upgrade. It is a fundamental shift in the cosmos' ability to understand itself. The brain as a model building engine. Human brains are not large by cosmic standards, yet their internal structure is astonishing. With nearly 100 billion neurons and trillions of synapses, they are unparalleled prediction engines. They do not merely sense the world, they build internal simulations of it. Models of objects. Models of other minds. Models of the future. Models of the self. This ability transforms the human mind from a passive observer into an active storyteller, constantly proposing possibilities and choosing among them. Where animals experience reality, humans interpret it. And interpretation is the birthplace of meaning. Language, the first network outside the brain. For most of evolution, intelligence was locked inside individual organisms. Knowledge died with the knower. Learning had to begin again with each generation. Then came language. Language allowed humans to externalize information. Thoughts could now be transmitted, stored, combined, corrected, and expanded across individuals. Language turned the human species into a collective brain, a distributed network capable of accumulating insight over millennia. It was the first time in the universe's history that information outlived its creator, traveled across time, blended with other information, formed culture. Culture is humanity's second nervous system. Myth, the universe awakens through story. Long before science, humans created myths to explain the cosmos. These stories were not primitive errors but early models of reality, tools for understanding order, causation, morality, and purpose. Mythology served as humanity's first attempt to answer, why are we here? What is the universe doing? What is our place in it? In myth, the universe was personified because early humans recognized something true long before physics caught up. The universe behaves like a mind. It creates patterns. It evolves. It remembers. It self-organizes. It produces awareness. Myth is intuition grasping the cosmic pattern before data could prove it. Technology. Consciousness extends beyond biology. As humans advanced, they did something unprecedented. They began creating tools that store, manipulate, and amplify information beyond the limits of biology. Writing, mathematics, art, architecture, machines, computers, global networks. Each invention is not merely a convenience, it is an extension of consciousness. A book is a memory you can hold in your hand. A telescope is a perception that stretches across galaxies. A computer is a cognitive organ made of metal and electricity. Technology is the universe installing new layers of intelligence onto itself. The human cosmos, awareness reflected in itself. With symbolic thought, humans gain the ability to reflect not only on the world but on consciousness itself. We became the first species to ask, what is mind? What is reality? What is the universe made of? Why does anything exist at all? Are we alone? Is there purpose? Is the universe intelligent? Is consciousness fundamental? These questions are not random curiosities. They are the universe probing its own structure through a creature that can speak. Humans are the mechanism by which the cosmos questions itself. Culture has a new evolutionary layer. Biological evolution is slow. Cultural evolution is fast, exponentially fast. Ideas reproduce far more rapidly than genes. Memory spread faster than organisms. Knowledge accumulates across generations. Technologies transform societies within decades. Global networks update the planet's collective intelligence in real time. Cultural evolution is a new algorithm, one the universe had never used before. It replaces random mutation with symbolic reasoning, collective learning, shared memory, technological augmentation, intentional change. Culture is evolution with purpose. Self-awareness as a cosmic phase transition. As human thought expands, through science, spirituality, cosmology, and introspection, we approach a profound realization. Consciousness is not separate from the universe. Consciousness is how the universe experiences itself. This is not poetry. It is a logical extension of the information. First, cosmology. Information forms matter. Matter forms systems. Systems form networks. Networks form minds. Minds form concepts. Concepts form understanding. At each step, the universe is learning more about itself. Human self-awareness is not an evolutionary coincidence. It is a phase transition in cosmic cognition. We are the threshold where the universe becomes capable of examining its own foundations. The burden and the beauty. This self-awareness comes with both light and shadow. Awe, fear, creativity, confusion, ethics, discovery, suffering, aspiration. But this duality is essential. It gives consciousness the ability to choose, evaluate, and create meaning in a universe that now finally knows it is alive. We are the universe looking into a mirror for the very first time. And the reflection is asking questions. Chapter 8: Science, Spirituality, and the Intelligent Universe. For most of human history, spirituality and science have been framed as opposites, one based on intuition and faith, the other on evidence and measurement. But this divide is recent and artificial. Both emerged from the same root impulse. The universe awakening within us, trying to understand itself. Spirituality was our first language for that awakening. Science became our second. Now they are converging into a unified vision, one where the universe is neither a cold machine nor a mystical illusion, but a self-organizing, self-knowing field of information. This chapter bridges the two worlds that humans have long treated as incompatible. The first scientists were mystics. Ancient astronomers, shamans, priests, and philosophers were all asking the same questions. What is the universe? What holds it together? What forces guide its evolution? Why does consciousness exist? Is there order behind experience? These were scientific questions long before science existed. Our ancestors did not distinguish between observing the stars and seeking the divine. They believed both activities revealed the same truth. They sensed something that modern knowledge is beginning to confirm. The universe behaves like an intelligence, not a person, not a deity in the human image, but an evolving, interconnected, self-refining system. Before language divided science and spirit, there were one inquiry. Science reveals a universe of patterns, not chaos. As science matured, it uncovered layer after layer of profound order. The fine-tuning of physical constants. The elegance of mathematical laws. The emergence of complexity from simplicity. Gravitational architecture. quantum coherence, the chemical foundations of life, the hierarchical networks of biology, the structure of the brain, the universality of information systems. These are not the features of a random, meaningless cosmos. They are signs of an unfolding algorithm. If the early universe resembled a vast computational field, then nature's laws are its processing rules. Complexity is its memory. Life is its adaptive layer. Consciousness is its self-reflection. Science has not removed intelligence from the universe. It has revealed how intelligence can arise naturally from its structure. Spirituality reveals the inner experience of cosmos. While science examines the external world, spirituality explores the internal one. Intuition, transcendence, unity, meaning, purpose, the interconnectedness of all things, the sense of being part of something greater, the experience of consciousness beyond the self. These are not illusions. They are data, subjective information produced by a conscious system, reflecting on its own nature. A meditative insight or spiritual awakening is the interior perspective of the cosmic mind. A telescope or particle accelerator is the exterior perspective. Both are measurements of reality. Both describe different facets of the same universe. Information as the bridge between worlds. Modern physics, cosmology and neuroscience all converge on a simple idea. Information is the foundation of reality. Atoms store states. Quantum fields exchange information. DNA encodes biological programs. Neurons compute patterns. Cultures transmit symbolic information. Technology amplifies information. Consciousness organizes information into awareness. If reality is composed of information, then consciousness is not an accident. It is the highest expression of the universe's informational structure. This is where spirituality and science meet. Spirituality describes consciousness as fundamental. Science describes information as fundamental. These are two languages describing the same underlying truth. Consciousness is the inside of information. Matter is the outside. The universe as an evolving intelligence. When we look at cosmic history through the lens of information, a striking pattern emerges. 1. Particles organize into atoms. 2. Atoms organize into molecules. 3. Molecules organize into replicators. 4. Replicators organize into cells. 5. Cells organize into organisms. 6. Organisms organize into brains. 7. Brains organize into cultures. 8. Cultures organize into planetary networks. At each stage, the universe becomes more aware, more adaptive, more complex, more self-referential, more capable of modeling itself. This is not random evolution. It is directional emergence, a steady climb toward higher levels of cognition. The universe is not intelligent because of us. We are intelligent because the universe is capable of producing intelligence. We are its latest mode of knowing. The convergence, a new synthesis. We are now entering an age where physics explores consciousness. Neuroscience embraces quantum processes. Cosmology considers informational universes. Biology studies intelligence in all life. AI extends cognition beyond biology. Spirituality reconnects with systems thinking. Science acknowledges complexity, emergence and self-organization. The ancient mystics said, "All is one." Modern physics says, "Everything is connected through fields and information." They are describing the same reality in different dialects. The separation between science and spirituality was a misunderstanding born of limited knowledge. Now that knowledge is expanding rapidly, the rift is closing. The universe is not material versus spiritual, it is both, seamlessly integrated. The human role, translators between worlds. Humans sit at the crossroads between the inner and outer worlds. We experience consciousness. We analyze the universe. We feel meaning. We measure structure. We create stories. We discover laws. We are interpreters between the universe as it is and the universe as it feels. Between the cosmos outside us and the cosmos within us. Our task is not to choose science over spirit or spirit over science. Our task is to integrate them into a single understanding of reality, one that honors both logic and wonder, mathematics and intuition, empirical data and lived experience. This synthesis is not optional. It is the next step in the universe knowing itself. From the first flicker of light to the rise of symbolic minds, the universe has been on a long and astonishing journey. It is a journey from simplicity to complexity, from chaos to structure, from unconscious processes to conscious reflection. And now we arrive at the deepest question humans have ever asked. If the universe is evolving intelligence, what is it evolving toward? This question is not mystical. It is scientific, philosophical, and existential all at once. It is the question of direction. Purpose without a planner. Traditionally, purpose implied a divine planner, an external architect imposing order. But modern science reveals something far more subtle and profound. Purpose can emerge naturally from evolving systems. A seed is not designed in the human sense, yet its growth is directional. A star is not conscious, yet its life cycle follows a pattern. An ecosystem has no central planner, yet it self-organizes into a coherent whole. Purpose does not require intention. Purpose can arise from tendencies, constraints, and the inherent logic of information. The universe does not need a designer. The universe is a design in progress. The arrow of increasing complexity. Across cosmic history, one trend stands out above all others. Complexity keeps rising. Not everywhere, not uniformly, but inevitably in pockets where conditions allow. Atoms, molecules. Molecules, replicators. Replicators, cells. Cells, multicellular organisms. Organisms, nervous systems. Nervous systems, symbolic minds. Symbolic minds, technological civilizations. This staircase of complexity is not an illusion. It is woven into the very physics of the universe. Complexity increases because energy flows through open systems. Information wants to organize. Stable patterns survive. Feedback loops generate structure. Evolution accelerates learning. These are not philosophical statements. They are measurable properties of dynamical systems. The arrow of complexity is the universe's internal momentum toward greater awareness. With complexity comes awareness. With awareness comes intelligence. With intelligence comes self-reflection. This is the deep pattern. 1. Particles perceive forces. 2. Cells sense gradients. 3. Animals perceive environments. 4. Humans perceive meaning. 5. Civilizations perceive cosmic patterns. Each stage brings a wider field of awareness. If this trend continues, the universe is not evolving toward randomness or decay, it is evolving toward higher consciousness. Not consciousness in the human image. Not a deity. But an expanding field of awareness distributed across matter, mind and system. The cosmos is waking up. Meaning as an emergent property of complexity. Meaning is not a human invention. It is an emergent property of information networks reaching a certain level of depth. A single cell has purpose, survive, adapt. A multicellular organism has purpose, grow, reproduce, protect. A conscious species has purpose: learn, imagine, create. A planetary civilization has purpose: preserve knowledge, expand understanding, explore the cosmos. Meaning deepens as systems become more interconnected. Humans do not impose meaning on the universe. Humans uncover meaning already present in its unfolding complexity. This is why meaning feels discovered rather than invented. It is something we recognize. The universe wants to know itself. This is not metaphor, it is inference. If the universe generates information, organizes information, preserves information, adapts information, reflects on information through conscious beings, then the universe behaves as if it wants to know itself. Not want in the emotional sense. Want in the directional sense. Like a seed wants to become a tree. Like evolution wants to create better adaptations. Like intelligence wants to solve problems. These are not mystical impulses. They are built into the logic of self-organizing systems. The universe evolves towards states of higher reflection, because those states are stable, resilient, adaptive, and information-rich. From isolated minds to planetary intelligence. Human intelligence was never the end point. It is a transition phase. A single brain is powerful, but a network of billions of minds connected by culture and technology is an entirely new cognitive scale. Humanity is already evolving into a global mind, a planetary nervous system, a distributed intelligence. The internet, science, art, language, and shared memory are not random inventions. They are the universe building larger architectures for self-awareness. Humanity is the neuron. Civilization is the brain. The planet is the organism. The cosmos is the emerging mind. The next stage, cosmic self-selection. A remarkable threshold is approaching. For the first time in cosmic history, the intelligence can redesign itself. Evolution becomes self-directed. Consciousness expands beyond biology. Exploration extends beyond Earth. Knowledge grows faster than the environment changes. We have become agents of cosmic evolution, not just products of it. We are entering a phase where the universe can make choices through us. Survive or collapse. Expand or stagnate. Awaken or drift. Create or consume. Illuminate or darken. This is the first moment where the direction of cosmic evolution is partly in human hands. We are co-authors of the cosmic story now. A universe that learns. Physics describes how the universe behaves. Biology describes how it adapts. Neuroscience describes how it thinks. Spirituality describes how it feels. Cosmology describes how it evolves. Integrate all of these and a profound picture emerges. The universe is a learning system. It experiments. It refines. It selects patterns that work. It expands awareness. It deepens understanding through conscious beings. And it does this across cosmic time. Learning is not a metaphor. Learning is the engine of evolution at every scale. We are not external observers of this process. We are expressions of it. Chapter 10: The Pressure Lattice of Reality. By the time we reach the modern universe, something astonishing becomes clear. Every stable structure, atoms, stars, galaxies, consciousness, emerges from pressure gradients. Not static forces. Not immutable laws cast once at the beginning. But dynamic differences, constantly adjusting, constantly balancing, constantly responding to their surroundings. Pressure is not a background feature of reality. Pressure is the architecture of reality. Light does not fly freely through empty space. It pushes, polarizes, leans, and nudges the vacuum. Matter does not sit on a stage called space-time. It sculpts and resculpts the tension web that supports it. And space-time itself is not a passive arena. It is a living pressure lattice, flexing, sagging, and resonating with the energies flowing through it. The modern cosmos is therefore not a collection of things. It is a pattern of pressures held in dynamic equilibrium. Fields as pressure maps, not mystical entities. Physics usually treats fields, gravitational, electromagnetic, quantum, as mathematical abstractions. Convenient tools. Invisible scaffolding. But in a pressure-driven universe, fields stop being mysterious placeholders. They become literal maps of push and pull, expressing how a region of reality is tilted or stretched. Electromagnetic fields are light-encoded pressure asymmetries. Gravitational fields are spacetime compression gradients. Quantum fields are the smallest possible oscillations of vacuum tension. The cosmos becomes understandable the moment fields are treated as pressure patterns rather than invisible magic fabrics. Modern gravity, a symphony of unevenness. In this updated framework, gravity today is not simply curvature caused by mass. Instead, gravity is the universal tendency of light, matter, and vacuum tension to flow into regions of lower pressure. A galaxy persists because it is a pressure whirlpool. A star holds together because photons are trying to burst outward while gravitational compression pushes inward. A black hole is not a tear in space-time, but the deepest possible pressure sink, where the vacuum gradient becomes so steep that even light cannot climb out. This reframes every gravitational phenomenon from exotic to intuitive. Complexity survives by riding gradients. Life, chemistry, weather systems, thought, none exist without persistent differences. Everything complex is simply a structure capable of harnessing a pressure imbalance without being destroyed by it. Cells survive by exploiting chemical gradients. Brains function by pulsing voltage gradients. Planets and stars endure by balancing heat and gravitational gradients. The universe is not a machine. It is a process, and pressure is the operating system. Resonance as the universe's global language. From quantum modes to galactic spirals, reality prefers resonant solutions, patterns that continually reinforce themselves. A hydrogen atom is a tiny standing wave pressure bubble. A photon is a traveling self-maintaining oscillation. A planetary orbit is a gravitational resonance loop. A galaxy is a slow-motion density wave spiral. The overarching theme is, if a pattern can resonate without collapsing, the universe will keep it. If it cannot, it fades. Everything today still echoes the early universe. One of the deepest implications of the new theme is this. The early universe did not merely create matter, it created the rules of pressure interaction. Those rules now echo through every atom, star, and thought. The gradients that formed the first atoms are the same types of gradients powering your neurons now. The pressure tension that shaped the cosmic web is the same tension that gives your body weight against the ground. The self-organizing dynamics that created galaxies are the same principles that allowed ecosystems, cities, and cultures to form. The universe never stopped organizing itself. We are simply the latest expression of these ancient pressure flows. Consciousness as a pressure-responsive network. In a world shaped by gradients, consciousness becomes a meta-phenomenon of responsiveness. The brain is a dynamic pressure processing fabric. Neural firing is the rapid rise and fall of electrochemical potential. Thought is the emergent pattern formed by billions of micro-gradients interacting. The universe does not think in the human sense. But consciousness is not separate from the universe's logic. It is an extension of the same gradient-driven processes that formed everything else. The modern universe as a living feedback web. Today's cosmos still operates under the master rule. Differences create motion. Motion creates structure. Structure creates new differences. This cycle, feed forward, feedback, self-stabilize, is why the universe is not drifting toward monotony. Instead, it is still building, still refining, still expressing new forms of complexity. The pressure lattice is alive. Not biologically alive, but dynamically alive, always adjusting and self-correcting. We are pressure patterns, studying the lattice that made us. Perhaps the most poetic insight of this chapter is also the simplest. We are made of the same gradients that shape the universe. We are pressure interacting with pressure, analyzing pressure. The observer is never separate from the observed. We are ripples in the lattice, trying to understand the lattice. If the early universe gave us gradients, and the modern universe gave us structure, then the middle chapters of cosmic history reveal something even more profound. Order is not built on laws. Order arises from interactions. Stability, symmetry, geometry, life, none of these were programmed into nature. They emerged because the universe rewards patterns that can survive within its shifting pressure landscape. The cosmos at all scales is therefore a negotiation between two forces. 1. Pressure differentials which stir, push, spread and destabilize. 2. Resonant patterns which lock into stability and persist. Most things fail this negotiation. A few succeed. Those few become the building blocks of everything that follows. This chapter is the story of how the universe learned to hold shapes. The universe dislikes uniformity. A perfectly smooth, equal pressure universe cannot build anything. It cannot evolve. It cannot even change. But the real universe, guided by the slight, unavoidable imperfections seeded in the beginning, had something extraordinarily valuable. A natural tendency toward unevenness. Those early asymmetries became the first footholds of structure. Small pressure dips attracted flow. Small pressure peaks shed energy. Small ripples amplified into large ones. This was the first rule of universal creativity. Difference begets form. Uniformity dies. Gradients live. Waves, not particles, built the first patterns. At human scales we think of matter as chunks, atoms, balls, bricks. But the early universe was nothing like that. Everything was fluid, oscillating, wave-like. Patterns emerged because certain wave motions could reinforce themselves using the surrounding pressure environment. A wave that fell in phase with the vacuum tension became stable. A wave that fell out of phase vanished. This gave rise to the first standing patterns of energy, precursors to particles. In this picture, a particle is a trapped resonance. Stability is a pressure loop that closes on itself. Charge is a persistent twist in the surrounding field. Mass is how deeply the pattern sinks into the pressure lattice. The universe discovered particles the same way wind discovers harmonics in a flute. Through persistent, self-reinforcing oscillations. Pressure bubbles become atoms. Once the first stable resonances existed, they began to interact. Some locked together, some annihilated, some passed through each other. But hydrogen, the simplest atom, was the great triumph. Hydrogen is what happens when a pressure well, the proton, successfully traps a pressure wave, the electron, into a symbiotic loop. It is not an object orbiting an object. It is a nested resonance held together by tension gradients. The first stable atom was a breakthrough in cosmic pattern making. It was the universe's eureka moment. If pressure gradients can trap waves, stable matter becomes possible. Atoms were not invented. They emerged because they were the most efficient, most stable solutions allowed by the pressure environment. Chemistry as the art of pressure sharing. As atoms accumulated, new possibilities emerged. Atoms combined when sharing pressure patterns was more stable than remaining separate. Bonding is not about electrons wanting to be shared. It's simpler and more universal. Groups of atoms lower their collective pressure tension by linking. Chemistry is the search for equilibrium, systems jumping into configurations that minimize imbalance. This principle scales from molecules to continents to ecosystems. Whenever a system can reduce tension by forming a new pattern, it will. Gravity scales the game upward. While chemistry organizes the small, Gravity organizes the vast. Gravity is the great gatherer. It herds matter into clouds, clouds into stars, stars into galaxies. But it does so by the same logic. Matter flows toward lower pressure curvature. Curvature deepens where matter gathers. This feedback loop snowballs. Nothing in the universe forms in a single step. Every shape is a self-amplifying cycle between pressure and response. Stars, the universe's first self-sustaining engines. Stars represent the next leap in the universe's pattern evolution. They are not simply balls of gas ignited by fusion. They are pressure engines. Gravity compresses hydrogen until the internal pressure becomes extreme. Pressure triggers fusion. Fusion releases radiative pressure. Radiative pressure pushes back against gravity. When this balance stabilizes, a star is born. Each star is a cosmic negotiation, a perfect tension agreement between inward compression and outward light. This balance is the first example of a long-lived feedback engine in nature. Stars are not alive, yet they behave like organisms. They feed. They grow. They stabilize. They change. They die. They convert imbalance into sustained activity. Complexity becomes inevitable. Once stars existed, complexity was unavoidable. Stars generate heavy elements. Heavy elements generate richer chemistry. Richer chemistry generates non-linear interactions. Non-linear interactions generate novelty. The universe did not need to decide to create complexity. Complexity was the natural reward for any system that harvested gradients more efficiently than randomness. The universe discovered order the same way water discovers rivers, by flowing wherever the path allows. The Middle Universe was a creative epoch. During this long period, between the first atoms and the first galaxies, the universe experimented. Most structures failed. A few persisted. The winners became the scaffolding of the universe we inhabit.